So it's Sunday and it's the beginning of another vlog. I apologize for not having one last week. To be honest, it came up to Thursday before I even thought about filming anything. So yeah, I decided at that point just to take a break. So my plans for this week, it's March of the Mammoths, and I'll have posted my TBR. I'll post a link. I'm not sure which side it is. What are my intentions for this week? I plan on reading these two mammoths. I know they should take me about like 2.5 weeks to get through. So it's going to be a lot of the same books, but hopefully my thoughts will change as we progress through these. So we have Memories of Ice by Steven Erikson. This is the third book in the Malazan Book of the Fallen series. And this goes back to the characters from the first book. So whereas the second book followed a whole different set of characters, this one follows the same characters that were in the first one. And I'm about 70 pages in so far. It doesn't look like it because this is a almost 1,200 page book. Yeah. And then I'm also reading the autobiography of Henry VIII with notes by his fool Will Somers, by Margaret George, and this is obviously not a real autobiography. It is really interesting so far. I'm on page 58. And this one I think is like 932 pages long. And there's a lot of confusing history because there was a lot of intermarriage in early English history. There's a lot of explanation here about it. And then of course Henry VIII has like the 6 wives, and somehow he's related to some of them, and some of them are related to each other, and it's all very confusing, but I'm sure that it will get explained further in the other 900 and or I guess 800 and some odd pages now. The audiobook I just started is not a mammoth. It's only 11 hours and some odd minutes long, and that is The Concise History of India by someone Metcalf. I can't remember their first names. And I'm really interested in Indian literature. And I know quite a bit from reading even just the fiction about the time around partition. But outside of that, I don't really know a lot about Indian history. So I decided that this book would be like a good introduction to that. And then I can look for further resources if I feel like I need to know more about it. So that's it. I'll see you in the rest of the week. Let's start with Radical Eyes, why not? Okay. That is an interesting angle. Okay, that is a good angle. Ooh. Yeah. Oh wow, that looks so weird. Look at the weird with makeup on. Hair. Hi, BookTube. Hi, BookTube. So I started listening to my audiobook, Concise History of India, and it is very much like a textbook. So, editing Courtney here, and my files got corrupted, so sorry for the drop in quality. I'm recording this on the webcam while I'm editing. What I was trying to say in this clip that got lost was that I decided to DNF that audiobook, and instead I started The Stone Sky by N.K. Jemisin, which is the third book in the Broken Earth trilogy that started with the 5th season. I did a whole Google thing where I asked it to pick a number, and that was the book I landed on. And so that's what I've been listening to this week.
And if anyone's going to build you a fire or bring you food, they haven't started yet. You spot Lerna crouching amid a small group of people who are also prone, but he's busy. Ah, yes. There must have been a lot of wounded after Renanus' soldiers got into the geode. Well, you don't need a fire.
So as usual, I went to the thrift stores again, and I tried to stay away from the books, but I actually saw this book, John Brunner. I don't even know what this one's about. It's called The Crucible of Time, but I love John Brunner's books. I've never been disappointed in one of his. Life had become too interesting on one world, crawling across the rubble-strewn arm of a spiral galaxy for a system. Okay, whatever, doesn't matter, I'm not gonna read those. So I picked this one up, and then I saw this book, Deep Diversity, Overcoming Us versus Them by Shakil Choudhury. And it doesn't say much. It just has, doesn't have a summary on the back. It just has quotes from people. But I liked this quote on the back. Deep Diversity is a breakthrough book taking a giant step towards overcoming pervasive racism in our society. Combining in-depth research and analysis with moving personal stories, Choudhury gives us a simple step-by-step approach to overcome centuries of racial hierarchy by understanding each of us is a part of the problem and part of the solution. So I thought, I'll get that. But if I got 2 of these books, it'd be $1. And if I got a bag of books, it would only be $2. So I, financially said, why not just get a bag of books? It'll work out cheaper, right? So that's what I did. I got more books. I got this one called Much Depends on Dinner: The Extraordinary History and Mythology, Allure and Obsessions, Perils and Taboos of an Ordinary Meal. And that just sounded very interesting. It's by Margaret Visser. This book was actually right beside the John Brunner book. And I thought, well, if this person likes the person who donated these might have been the same person, and if the John Brunner book is beside this one might be good. And this is Peter Straub, Houses Without Doors, and this seems to be a collection of short fiction horror stories, so I thought I'd give that a try. This one also caught my attention. It's a children's, or I guess middle grade, Inside Out and Back Again by Thanha Lay. I'm probably mispronouncing that, I'm sorry. And this is a middle grade novel that takes place during the Vietnam War. But I thought the cover was absolutely stunning too. So we'll see. And then I have Gaff Topsails by Patrick Kavanagh. And just the title intrigued me. And then I read on the back, this is a Canadian author. And it's about a single day in the life of a small Irish Catholic outport as it would have been half a century ago. Yeah. And then also in that bag, I got Beowulf on the Beach, What to Love and What to Skip in Literature's 50 Greatest Hits. And this is a guy just, you know, talking about books in a very simple, straightforward way, which looks interesting. And then we went to another one, and I saw this series. Let me see if I can get it in order here. And it's the School of Good and Evil series, and I read book one and I really enjoyed it. But as you can see, I picked up another copy of it because I have the hardcover but without a paper jacket. But without the what's it called? Slip cover. But without the slip cover. So I figured if I'm gonna pick up 2 and 3, I may as well pick up book 1. They're only 50 cents each, so why not? So there's book 1. This is another one, A World Without Princes, book 2. And this is The Last Ever After, book 3. And this is actually a really good series. I'd say it's probably middle grade, bordering on YA. Yeah. And then we passed by the used bookstore and I said, oh, I gotta stop in because I don't have the 4th book for the Malazan series yet. And I picked it up. So this is House of Chains, book 4 of the Malazan series. And this one I think is only 1,034 pages. Not as big as the one I'm currently reading, which is almost 1,200 pages. So it's Saturday, so I'm here to wrap up my vlog for the week. And I decided to take a different approach during the week than what I initially set out to do. So my initial setup was to finish these 2 books within 2 weeks. So that's the autobiography of Henry VIII with notes by Swole Will Somers by Margaret George, and Memories of Ice by Stephen Erickson. So I quickly realized that reading 200 pages a day was not going to be feasible for me, especially with Malazan book 3, because it's quite dense. So I've recalculated, and instead I decided I'm going to take the full month to read these books, and that's 40 pages a day for Memories of Ice. And I'm just doing some catch up now. I do have 40 pages today, but I've had to read 100 pages total today. But I've had today off, so that was good to do. And for Henry VIII, it's 31 pages a day in here that I have to finish. And this is much easier to read, so sometimes I read more than that. So hopefully I'll get through this beast quite soon. And also you saw me opening a new book, and you probably think you're crazy, you're reading these 2 chunkers, why would you open a new book? So, editing Courtney back again, that was another file that was corrupted. I was having computer problems, but I'm referring to a clip that obviously didn't come in, where I unwrapped a copy of Fiddler on the Roof. That's because I like to read in the bathtub, and to be honest, holding a book like this for, you know, as long as I like to sit there and soak, would result in this book dropping in the water. Or this one, which is even more awkward to hold because it's a mass market paperback and so thick. So I decided to open really thin books, and I got Fiddler on the Roof, and I read 88 pages, so I'm just about to start scene 8 for the next time I decide to soak. And I'll pick up more small books as I go along, because this was quite a fast read because it's just a play. Yeah, do I have much thoughts yet? This book is so much easier to get into than the first two, because what happens is book one drops you in the middle of the story and you have no idea what's going on at the beginning. And by the end, it's just like, oh, you're so invested in these characters and the plot and everything. And then book two drops you in a completely different part of the world with mostly different characters. And again, you know, in the middle of things that are going on that you have no clue. But this one actually ties the two stories together. We're again following the people from book one. There's that little bit of confusion. There's some strange stuff going on that you're trying to follow, but it's not as bad as it was in book one and book two. So I'm really, really thoroughly enjoying this. And one of my favorite characters came back. His name's Croup. Yeah, he's great. And this one's interesting so far. I don't know much about Henry VIII, aside from, you know, the fact that he had a bunch of wives and he started the Reformation. But outside of that, not really. He was actually training to become a priest before his brother died, which is interesting that he has this kind of very religious background. And in regards to audiobooks, I should mention that as well. I was going to read The Concise History of India, and I decided to stop listening to that after about like an hour when I realized it was really just like a textbook being read out loud. And I don't think textbooks make very good audiobooks. So yeah, I decided to forego that, and instead I picked up The Stone Sky by N.K. Jemisin, and I'm thoroughly enjoying that. I'm already about like 3 hours into it. So yeah, that's what I've been up to this week. Hopefully you won't get too bored of me reading the same books throughout the rest of the month, but that's just what's going to happen. I'm going to try and insert lots of life stuff anyways as well. So that's it for Saturday. I'm just going to sit here, read, and pet Raggy, and thank you for watching.